California is currently in the middle of the worst drought it has been since the 1970s, which a new analysis estimates will cost the state $2.2 billion this year, along with more than 17,000 jobs as hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland go unplanted. In January, California Governor Jerry Brown asked Californians to reduce their water use by 20% to help minimize the damage. They did not listen. In fact, the analysis released yesterday found that overall water consumption in California has actually increased by 1% compared to a year ago. So yesterday, after 3 years of drought, California water regulators declared no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Tuesday, the board approved a $500 fine for those who overwater their yards, wash their cars without a shutoff nozzle, or use water to wash down sidewalks and driveways.
That's right. In California, local agencies will soon have the authority to fine people who waste water up to $500 per day. But that's just one side of the fight to save water in California. Many local authorities are encouraging citizens to report their neighbors. Have you ever heard of drought shaming?
On social media, so-called drought shaming posts show neighbors spraying the sidewalk for an hour or washing his car. Thanks, read this post, for using the last bucket of water in California.
On Twitter and elsewhere, the unrelenting eye of social media is being deployed for a neighbor versus neighbor exposure of perceived water wasters. And some, including an apparent eco-vigilante in San Jose, appear to be taking even more direct measures.
My feelings are that somebody is against the people that have green lawns.
So maybe to show their frustration for having green lawns, someone is turning the grass brown.
Some Californians who want to keep their lawns green while abiding by the water restrictions is even taking to having their lawns painted. Residential water use in California is just a small part of the state's problem. Agriculture uses a whopping 80% of California's water, thanks in part to some insanely water-hungry crops, especially almonds, which use about 10% of the state's total water supply each year. In fact, Mother Jones reported it takes, this is astounding, more than a gallon of water to grow a single almond. California is a state whose bounty depends on a very sophisticated, expensive system of water management. The questions Californians will soon be confronting is, as climate change takes hold, can the state actually keep that up? Joining me now, Peter Glick, president of the Pacific Institute, an independent nonprofit organization that does research on global water issues. Peter, I guess the first question is, why didn't the urge to use less water work? Will social media shaming work instead? And what do we know about how you get people to consume less water?
Well, we know that we're in a bad drought. It's the third year of a drought. The last 10 years of the last 14 have been dry, and yet we haven't reacted as we ought to have. There's not enough water to go around, even in a wet year in California, and yet the public has been pretty slow to respond. The calls to respond to the drought have been up until now pretty weak, and we've seen too weak of a response. I do think the recent decisions to raise the prospects of fines to try and get farmers to use water more efficiently may have an effect, at least on the educational side of things, and hopefully will drive Californians to do what we know we're able to do, which is use water more efficiently than we're currently using it. But we have a long way to go. Our water system is way out of balance right now, and the public's not aware of it. Yeah, so how do you fix it? I mean, it seems strange to me to go after that 20% of essentially residential personal usage as opposed to the 80% of agricultural usage. You've got to have some kind of policy fix. How do you make this make sense in California? You're absolutely right. We use water for a lot of different things. We grow a lot of food in California. We use water for industry. We use water in our homes. The reality is that every sector of our society could use water more efficiently. We have inefficient fixtures. We have flood irrigation when we could have drip irrigation. Every sector ought to be addressing these issues. So agriculture uses 80% of the water that we use in California. There's a lot of potential to grow a lot more food with a lot less water. But the truth is, even in the 20% in our urban use, in our lawns, in our gardens, in our homes, we could be using water more efficiently. Maybe it's no longer time to have lawns in California. Maybe we could get rid of those old, inefficient toilets and shower heads and washing machines in our homes. I think every sector could do a lot more to do the things we want with less water, to be more efficient.
California is a kind of marvel of water engineering. The entire American West is a marvel of water engineering. You've got, places that shouldn't exist where they exist. Las Vegas comes to mind, Phoenix, Arizona, places in which the sophisticated use of water into places that don't get a lot of rain has allowed this entire universe to bloom. In an era of climate change, in a warmer era in which droughts are more common, is California as a project sustainable?
Without a doubt, we have droughts naturally, of course. Wet years, we have dry years. And we now have climate change. The climate's changing. We know it's changing because of human activities. And we know some of the worst impacts of climate change are going to be on our water resources. We're going to lose snowpack. It's going to get hotter and is already getting hotter, and that means more demand for water. I think we'll have to deal with the reality of climate change. We'll still have a California. We'll still have a West. It'll be hotter. It'll be drier. We're going to have to get smarter about how we manage the limited water resources that we already have. We can't act as though the future is going to look like the past. The future is going to be hotter and it's going to be drier. And our water management system, which is already out of balance, has got to learn to adapt to these coming changes.
Peter Glick, thank you so much. Appreciate it.